Good. So what I want to talk about today is your practice of yoga and how it works. It's an incredible experience that you're having, meaning that the practice that you have come across, which exists within you, is producing an incredible experience inside. And this profound experience, which is occurring inside of you, is designed to develop a deeper understanding as to why you are where you are and what you're doing there. And as we start to examine what that means, it's important to ground into just the sensation of it. So why you are here. Here meaning the present experience that is occurring at this moment. Why are you exactly here? But also, why are you here, meaning in your life predicament or experience, depending on what side you fall on, because they're both there. It's a profound sensation that you are experiencing from life, or it feels like an incredibly tight squeeze. And both are good. So what you are having the opportunity to be a part of is a science, a technology that is designed to unravel the question and provide insight or correct lenses for you to achieve an answer. In order for that answer to be heard, we have to actually take the responsibility for being in the practice. Which changes the attitude quite significantly. So the elements of your practice revolves around the body, the breath, and the mind. These three things. Which means that we must take responsibility for those three things. What's occurring within the body, within the breath, and within the mind. Along with that, we want to develop the perfect environment for this exploration to occur within these three areas. The perfect environment. So my question to you is, how do we create this perfect environment within these three areas? Body, breath, mind. If we take this leading concept of becoming responsible for our own personal practice. What is the chief tool for developing an understanding of what needs to happen within the body in order to create this perfect environment is the sensations, the feelings that you're getting from your body at any given moment. On a feeling experience, you should have a constant connection throughout the entire body without any one part of the body taking over the stage. This is called balance. If there's an imbalance within the environment of the body, all of your attention and awareness goes to that single point and starts to create an entire world view around it. Does this make sense? So the efforts of your physical posture practice is actually to bring one total experience, one balanced experience, one constant experience within your physical environment. So that then you can actually feel accurately. It's not swayed or compromised by one single point. So the practitioner of yoga uses one's own body as the tool to understand who they are and why they're here. So within this feeling of sensation, we become incredibly sensitive to the finer detail of that sensation. Not attaching ourselves to its meaning, but simply reading it as though you are reading words on paper, or listening to it as though you're hearing a piece of music, but you're attempting to experience the entire piece of music. And you can see now, as you're starting to connect to this concept, the body starts to become lighter, maybe more receptive, maybe grounded, but in the right way. So that everything is moving as it needs to move, because as I'm speaking to you, there's a subtle sensation that is occurring within the physical experience of the body. So through this field of experience that we share, my subtle body language and my words, you are hearing and feeling with your entire experience of body. That sensation is giving you a depth of understanding as to what I am talking about. Taking responsibility for what you feel, for what you are being receptive to, is deciding that this practice of yoga that you are engaged in is real. That what you see in your mind's eye as being the lofty or the ideals of yoga, you are actually working towards attaining. Not as an idea, but as a reality. So then literally your physical body becomes this playing field for everything else to occur. This is the ultimate playing field. There is no other. It's not breath and it's not mind. Without body, there's nothing to sustain the mind or the breath. There's nothing to ground it and connect it to this incredible experience that you're having now. So within that, we breathe. Within this body, we create inspiration, excitement, intention through the rhythms of your breath. So believe it or not, we actually have to take responsibility for the way that we breathe and how we receive the breath. So it's a layering. We don't actually forget about what's occurring within the body. We're adding new information into what we already know within our body. So how we position ourselves, get ready for the environment of breath to occur. Your breathing rhythm is probably the single most important activity that you do in a single day or in a single moment. You know as well as I do, without it there's no life. This is the life giver, which means every question and every answer is actually coming from this simple rhythm of breath. It's what fuels all discovery. So to take responsibility for your breathing means that you're going to become aware, intuitively aware, intellectually aware, experientially aware of this rhythm. And you can actually add and create input into the experience through consciously breathing. Just like when you consciously move your body into a more ideal posture, which then all of a sudden the world opens up, the exact same thing happens when you breathe with a very specific breathing rhythm that is in balance and in connection to the environment of the body. So that then two are becoming one. The experience of the body and the experience of the breath are mixing, mingling, becoming one thread of movement. And we can go deep. On a cellular level, there's a vibration that's occurring. On the most subtle realms of your breathing, there's a vibration that's occurring. And the two are matching, as though they're weaving into each other. We can further increase our ability to have direct input into our environment and into our experience through deciding how and what we are breathing. So if you can connect to how you feel, and then you connect to your breath, what is it saying? So what is this breath or this breathing rhythm saying to you right now? Because the reality is that your breathing is actually using your body's environment as a tool of understanding what type of rhythm is necessary in order to keep it inspired and alive. So how you decide to live within this body is exactly the inspiration that you're going to get from your breath. So as the yogi increases in his or her ability to expand the mind and use the body as the tool, then all of a sudden its spaciousness within the breathing rhythm begins to grow. This space is potential. The potential is then harnessed and then directed. So the rhythm of the breath becomes incredibly important. Your rhythm of the breath is bouncing off of the sensation within the body, the vibration of the cells within the body that are designed to hold a very particular pattern. So the body is holding a very specific pattern, which is maintaining a vibration that is being emanated into a field. In a sense, like a code that says, this is who I am, this is what I want, this is where I'm going. The body is holding that pattern. The breath is maintaining its vibrancy. The breath also reaches up into the mind. And the very particular thoughts and emotional states that we are running on a constant. So it's what is the constant that we are patterned for. The breath reaches into the mind and starts to draw threads into its rhythm as the request into the body to say, this is what the mind is needing. This is what the mind wants. So that then the two are working together in order to create the perfect environment for this inspiration of breath to provide life, giving you the exact place where you are right now. So this is where you are. The reason why is because you are holding yourself there and you're deciding that this is the perfect place for you. Consciously or subconsciously, you've made the decision. So it doesn't matter if life is like the yellow brick road and you're just sauntering down, or you feel pressured. That doesn't really matter so much, because you're there, and somewhere inside we've decided that this is the place for us right now. Now understand that I'm not talking about the circumstances around you. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm specifically talking about your internal environment. Not what's happening around you, but how you're experiencing those moments that are occurring around you. That's what I'm talking about. So if the breath is the life giver, the energizing expression, the mind is the magnet. The mind is the concentrated energy that, in a sense, funnels down from this incredible experience which we call consciousness. A field of consciousness that is all around us somehow funnels this energy and directs it through what we call concentration. But this concentration is all pervading throughout the entire experience of your human existence. You are the queens and kings of multitasking. So the brain as being the hub of all of activity and runnings of the body's systems. Imagine how much concentration that takes of effort on an incredibly fine scale that is almost unmeasurable by science. And we actually harness a piece of that concentration consciously through your daily decisions, through your thought processes, through your emotional states. That's, in a sense, your time to shine. Your time to say, I am taking responsibility for the fact that I am conscious and that I am on a path which is directed towards understanding who I am and why am I here. And I have the perfect tools, the only tools that we have: the body, which is my playing field, the breath, which is the energy and inspiration of everything that I feel and see, and my mind, which is my concentrative magnet. So wherever I point this concentration, my energy starts to wrap itself around it, creating a reality. So your thought process is incredibly important to take responsibility for. I feel quite strongly that that anyone should let go of this idea of random thought, random thinking, not having control over the mind. That is probably the number one most scariest thing ever to me, is what paints the picture of your experience you have little to no control over. And I don't mean that in a forceful way, I mean that in a friendship. That you are not engaged in a relationship with your mind. And that if you ask your mind to please stop going that direction, the mind does not listen. Wow! What have you been telling this mind for it to rebel so hard? Why is it furious at you? Like Sage says, be nice. He said, be nice, Baba. Be nice. It's good advice. You should be nice. And I understand that the mind is an interesting experience because it's so untangible. Physical body, we feel that we have more of a conscious presence in because we feel it, we see it, everyone interacts with it. But the mind is actually that much more tangible than the body because you are constantly in it. More so than the body, I'd say. For 90% of people, they are constantly in the mind. So their world is made up of thought fragments organized in very specific ways, etched into a reality base that we've constructed in order to prove to everyone else that you are right. There is no possible way that I can have control or friendship with this mind. But this has been the leading force of the philosophy of yoga, changing this mindset that has been around for thousands of years. So we have to start to intellectually, and scientifically understand that the mind is not thought, is not emotion, is not personality. This is not mind. Mind is that space that you see between you and I. This is mind. The space that you see. Mind is the space that you see inside of you. If you look to the right, if you look to the left, if you look up and you look down, all of that space constitutes as mind. So this is not thought, this is not emotion, and this is not personality. You can have imbalance within your thought, emotion, and personality and still have quite a healthy relationship with mind. One influences the other, but you have to start somewhere. So for most of us, it's really challenging to become friends with thought. Personality, a little bit easier, but as soon as you get put into a pressured situation, it's no longer there. Emotion is unstable. So the mind is actually where we want to start to focus our attention towards. The pristine clarity of mind. And everyone has pristine, clear mind. Everybody. There's no exception. Not one person is more special than another person. But the difference is lying in your ability to develop that friendship and to let go of this constant reaffirming that you are thought, emotion, and personality. And even if you tell me, oh yes, I know this, I will tell you, you need to go back to the drawing board. And again and again and again, we have to go through this formula. And it should be a formula. It has to be a formula of structure in order to go deeper into what is mind and what is produced by the mind through its learning, thought, emotion, personality. So your practice of yoga, whether you're doing physical postures, breathing, or meditation, this is a systemized approach that starts as a hypothesis, as a theory, and you enter yourself into the experiment and you get a result, which is you lying in shavasana or sitting in meditation or after you're finished the breathing. This is the result. How do you feel? On all the list of questions that may come about. What's happening? What is the environment? Where are my thoughts? What am I thinking about right now? Consciously. And if you can say that, yes, I actually feel an increase in balance, a decrease in anxiety and stress, an increase in my mind's ability to become productive and harness this potential energy and direct it with its concentration without interruption from thought, emotion, and personality. If you can confidently say that this is happening even on a fraction, then that means that you've succeeded. There is a result from your experiment. And if it is favorable to that which your vision sees as what your life is on a reality, what this yoga is doing, what it's supposed to do, if there is any sort of similarity, that means that then you have to write it down. But not write it down on a book, but write it down in the coding and the mapping of your physical body. The very specific patterning that's wrapping itself around the experience and holding the space. You have to consciously feel that occurring. The rhythm of the breath, there's a very specific rhythm of breathing that's occurring in order to produce the balance. There's a very specific space within your mind that you are visiting in order to maintain or draw the energy from consciousness, which is balance. The three are working together to become seamless. And I know you know what I'm talking about. When three become one, you feel bliss. The intelligence is high, and it is an incredible feeling. So you write it down with the coding of your experience. You remember it, and you do exactly that again, and get to the same spot. Again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And I could just go on the rest of the talk. I could just say again, and again, and again. Because that is actually what it needs. And I don't need to tell you that because you know that. Because you've been working on this exact equation for a long time. So it comes down to this responsibility. You are responsible for your own personal practice, which is completely enmeshed within your life. There's no separation. It is one. It is constantly pulling away the fibers that are making the density of your experience, pulling away one fiber at a time, this density, so that then there is fluidity through all areas of your experience once again. So if someone were to ask me what is the most important part of this, it would be for you to learn how to think properly. In the most loving of ways. And if you already know how to think properly, you're saying, yes, this is the most important part. Have you ever sat down and thought, why do I think that? Meaning you slow the game right down and you watch this crazy random thought. Why? Or this other thought that is totally not wanting me to achieve something in my life. That one right there. That is a ridiculous thought. Have you ever thought why that happens? I'm not going to give you an answer. But what I am going to tell you is that the simple process of slowing yourself down and noticing the way that you think, asking why are you doing that? In the most humble way. Like if it takes you to actually lie down on the ground and just, in a sense, prostrate to what you consider to be the highest form of yourself, in the humblest way, ask, why do I do this? Why am I thinking like that? You will definitely get an answer. Definitely you will get an answer. And the answer that you get is this deep. So between my two fingernails, that's how deep the answer is. So it only takes one layer, which means you have this much to go. Which means you have to maintain the question, why? Every time you see it, you have to stop yourself. If it takes pulling over onto the side of the road and just sitting there for a few minutes and ask yourself, why are you thinking like that? Because it doesn't make any sense. There's little to no logic when you really sit down and contemplate it. There's zero logic when you contemplate it. That the only person that is really here for you is you. This is the only real person in the world that cares as much for you as you. So how you sit with that, I'm not sure. But you are it. You are limited in what you actually have. And this could even be taken away from you, but you have body, you have breath, and you have mind. What is creating the whole experience is the brain and the mind. So it's little, there's really no room to move. It's basically pointed at that experience that is creating the thought. And I have to tell you that it is easy. It's probably the most natural thing you could ever do, is develop a relationship with yourself and your mind to the point where no thought is a negative thought. Where your emotions become your emotion, your emotional body, for the sake of communicating rather than sabotaging. It's very, very possible. It is an absolute reality. That your personality no longer has to be spliced and sliced into fragments in order to fit every single circumstance that you have logged into that brain. That you can just simply be one, which is yourself. And it will actually find its role in everything that you do. This has been a discussion that has been alive for thousands of years. Which means thousands of years worth of energy is actually behind it. So what is set in motion is constantly in motion. Is that the saying? So there's a constant movement in the direction of balance, in the direction of communication, and in the direction of this friendship. But the key ingredient is your decision to go there. The key ingredient is your ability to be honest with yourself and slow it down. Just because you have the thought doesn't mean you have to go with it if it's not the one. good thing is that you're doing it. You are actually in the process of developing this friendship with your mind, of understanding the role that your breath plays in deepening this this connection to how the body is a playing field. You're doing it through your practice. So in technical terms, your attention wants to be absolute when you're in your formal practice, meaning that nothing else distracts you. Just like when you read a word, a single word, your eyes have to travel across each letter. If you look above those letters or below those letters, you won't actually read the word. And it's that simple. So your attention has to be absolute upon the exact task which you are producing within your practice. What that translates into is your concentration. And this field of consciousness working together in order to direct this attention. The attention is almost the decision that, yes, I'm going to do it. That's the attention. Concentration pulls at the field to say, this is where you're going. So then your nervous system fires very specifically. And then the tissue of the body, and then the mind starts to create the environment that is conducive, which then you hold the space, which then you breathe in the rhythm, which then you maintain this rhythm, which then amplifies the space, meaning its intensity, its tangibility. We're creating reality out of thin air. This is true. So this reality that you see in front of you happened out of thin air. And it vanishes just as quickly. The reality that you're cultivating through this talk is actually manifesting out of thin air. With the aid of your attention and your concentration, and my attention and concentration. These words that I'm saying, your ability to hear them and piece them together is creating a reality. And we are holding this space, and we are only going to hold it for such a period of time that we're together, and then we will let it go. And then it will turn back into nothing. And it's so easy, you do it all of the time. Something, nothing. Something, nothing. The same thing happens inside of you. You create this world, this environment that is perfect for you. Something. And then it's no longer needed. So it vanishes into nothing. How is that possible? So if that happens inside of you all of the time, with all the different tasks and responsibilities that you have, you are incredibly familiar with the rhythm, then why is it that sometimes you create something and then it gets stuck? No logic. It's all you. Something happened along the way so that it stayed. It didn't vanish into nothing. And what does that mean? Nothing. All that means is that you have to ask the question why, so that you can go about this deep. Take that layer off and then again ask why. Not attaching yourself to the fact that it is something, because you are not that something, because it does actually go away, but it goes away like this instead of like this, the way it should. Just, you put it in your pocket or wherever you put it. So you know that this is not your constant reality, but it is constantly reoccurring. And you focus your attention on the fact that this space emerges again and again and again. What does it feel like? What does it taste like? There's a taste. What does it smell like? What does it sound like? What does it look like, this space that I'm talking about? Those 5 things includes all of your senses. This is a very important practice within the technical side of yoga. It's called pratyahara, which means you're withdrawing your senses from that which is distractive. So that which distracts you, you want to withdraw away from. So if this something that will not go away is distractive, you must slowly but surely move your senses away from it. But you have to take responsibility. You can turn you have to take this responsibility. I know you know you know. I know you know. And it's profound, because the result is then you are for yourself. You are completely in support of your experience here and now. That means if everything starts to get a little bit shaky, you at least have one individual who is completely on your side. Which means that then your attention and ability to concentrate within the individual techniques of your practice increases 100-fold. So that then all that you see that yoga is supposed to be literally begins to happen. And if you've gone there, then you're saying, yes, you're absolutely right. And they've written about it and talked about it for thousands of years. Teacher-student relationships, saying that this is the goal, this is the direction, this is how you do it. The ones that say, okay, this is the goal, this is the direction, this is how I do it, thank you, here I go, are the ones that succeed. Just to be real. The ones that say, okay, this is the goal, this is the direction, this is how I do it, perfect. How do I do that again? I just want to hear it one more time. Okay, this is the goal, this is the direction, this is how I do it. You sound great, this is good, perfect. They don't end up going anywhere because they haven't taken full responsibility. Because how it sounds, how it feels as we build this reality is incredibly good. This is nice. This possibility just is rising. Clarity rising, brightness rising. But then when you take it home, and then it's time for you in the quietness of your home or in the busyness of your life to apply it, it's like, wait a minute, this didn't feel like when we were sitting at the yoga loft. It's not as fuzzy and warm, it's not as bright and shiny. They won't leave me alone, these thoughts. Oh, it's too hard. But we all know that. So you have to create an environment that is conducive for this experiment to occur. I'm talking about whatever level you're sitting at within your practice. Doesn't even matter. But you have to create the conducive environment. Foods that you eat are important. Foods that you eat are incredibly important. So the basic staple is, if you want simplicity within your thoughts and emotions, easy to decode, easy to let go of, If you need that simplicity, then eat simply, because you are what you eat. That's simple. So if you're having a day that's complex, just eat steamed greens, brown rice, a little bit of Bragg's, simple. And you will notice the effects like that. Simply digested means your body does the minimal amount of work, which means it has more energy to create space for your thoughts and emotions to flow. Endless amount of space, but it can look as though there's no space at all. So this is what they've been saying for thousands of years. If you need simplicity within your mind, easy to calm down, easy to relax, eat simply. Do the experiment. Eat complex processed foods for a few days and see what happens. And then start to eat simply again. And then go simply for maybe a month, maybe the month of May. And see what happens. Believe it or not, the issues that would normally arise can be unwound quicker. When I was still living at home, so this was a while back, at home meaning my family's house, and I would be confronted with a decision, I would fast in order to get the answer. Luckily, I didn't ever have to go too long, which probably for multiple reasons. One, maybe somewhere inside there thought that, okay, well, if I'm not going to have any food until I figure it out, well, maybe we should hurry up. But more on an intuitive level, what it felt like is that I was designating my life to the answer, which I think is a big difference. I was not dedicating my life to the problem. I was dedicating my life to the answer. And what I felt was a small sacrifice at that time was eating food. So that then I could stay grounded, and that's just how I was able to stay grounded at that time. Not to say that you should stop eating to get any sort of an answer, but it's speaking to this idea of simplicity and taking responsibility. So that was my symbol for taking responsibility, was that I want to know this answer. I need to know this answer so deeply that I'm just going to stop eating until I receive the answer. So it becomes a life process rather than just something that you do in your spare time. Practice of yoga ideally is a 24-hour thing, which is cool because it's fun. You cannot find more fun than this, I'm sorry to say. There is nobody more important or more interesting than you. You would rather talk about yourself than anybody else. You would rather think about yourself than anyone or anything else. So why not just take it to the next level and make your whole life about you in the most purest form, which means that as you understand who you are, you actually have more capacity to understand the people around you, more compassion for those people around you, because you've come to terms with the fact that you are not perfect and your thoughts are not always for you, but sometimes they are trying to sabotage you. So you have compassion for the person sitting across from you. You feel their pain. Why? Because you felt it. The only reason why we're able to have this conversation is because somewhere inside of you, you know what I'm talking about. And that's the only way. Or else nobody would be looking at me right now and you would all be whispering to each other. Luckily, that's not the case. So the reason why we can have this conversation is because there's a connection. So therefore, we have a bridge of communication. As you deepen your understanding and make your whole world about yourself, the self, which is a philosophical position of depth in understanding of an individual's experience. So as we understand the self, we understand the collective experience of self, which means the friends and family around you. And you know what I mean. The perk is that it feels good. So when you become increasingly more conscious of your breathing, it feels better and better. When you become increasingly more conscious about the food that goes into your body, you feel better and better. When you become increasingly more conscious of the activity that is occurring within your mind, so not the mind, but the activity which is occurring within the mind, you become more balanced, increasingly more balanced. The three together is the perfect environment for the yoga to take a turn into becoming real. For your life to align with what you think it should be. I know you know what I'm talking about. You see it, life should be like this. You look out, life is nothing like that. But then all of a sudden life becomes like that. So what did you do for those days or months or years where life was aligned? And then what happened when life became imbalanced again? Taking the responsibility of the experiment. You are the experimenter. Your laboratory is your body. This is the science of self. This literally is the science of self. The most important part of this science is to learn how to think correctly. Meaning that nothing is against you, everything is for you. What seems to be against you is just simply influence that is coming, and your past learning that is registering that influence, and then producing something that it feels that it knows. But the more you go there and say, why are you still doing that? What is it? Do I need to say sorry? Do I need to give you a big hug? Do I need to get more grounded with you? So the more we do that, then the less effect it has, the pattern, the less effect it has on the overall state of your mind. Does this make sense? So we can still do this profound work of friendship with mind, even if you feel that you are very confused and truthfully imbalanced. Doesn't matter. You have to be actually very balanced to be imbalanced. It's amazing how balance works. So once we can get to this thinking part, and it's actually all moving in a single pointed direction, which is towards the fulfillment of who you are, the big one, the big fulfillment of who you are, what you see life should be and life align, then we can take all of that potential which exists within the space and direct it to a single point of activity. So on this level, we are not good at multitasking at all. On the conscious level, we are not good at all. We are incredibly effective at single tasks. We do this, and then we do this, and then we do this. On a subconscious level, on an intelligence level, we're running all of the systems. But on a conscious level, we should only do one thing at a time. So we're training our minds to do this by engaging in a technical practice. Physical postures, breathing, meditation. Each one individually taken, all concentration and attention focused on the single point of task, even if it's a dynamic expression of movement, the single point of task, which is strengthening everything that we talked about as being optimal for this hypothesis or theory to come to a conclusion which is in favor. So the patterning of the body holds itself in such a way for the concentration to strengthen. The rhythm of your breath holds itself in such a way for the strengthening of this concentration. The mind holds itself in such a way for the strengthening of this concentration. The three are working together on the exact same task. As it strengthens, then you're able to take it from your practice into the lobby area. Got it. And then eventually it will stay into the change rooms. Got it. And then down the stairs, into the grocery store. Whoa, still got it. Into the restaurant. Still got it. Outside, walking down the street, in your car, with your friends, with your family. Got it. Still got it. So in all of these seemingly challenging moments that pulls you back into what you think you know and what is right and what is, well, this is just the way that I am. So the more we can actually not resist it, but develop resistance towards, we're not resisting it, we're developing resistance towards that while it's working itself out, then the more we can actually become in line. The more balance you feel, the more reality starts to shift itself around how you see it, the more it becomes in favor for you to live it. So that what you see on the inside is actually what's happening on the outside. What's happening on the outside is actually what is occurring on the inside. That's called truth. So if there's any discrepancies, then we're not fully living in truth, which is fine. Who said anyone is perfect? But we're constantly perfecting this incredible piece of art, which is your life. And it manifests in as many ways as you are conscious of. So as your consciousness grows, this manifestation increases. Your reality also grows. So if your awareness of consciousness is right here, then this is all you got. But we all know that it is expansive and we haven't found the end. So if your level of consciousness is working here, imagine how much more you have to go. Yes. So if you sit outside day or night, you can look up and it goes on forever. If you sit and close your eyes day or night, you look inside and it goes on forever. Science says now you sit and you look into the tissue of your body and it will go on forever. So there's this constant, endless movement of expansion forever, which is the very fiber of consciousness, which is everything that we hold valuable in the mind. It is the experience of mind, is this forever expanding consciousness that we have simply harnessed and said, this is where you live. You are doing it. Your technique of yoga is constantly pushing the boundary and edge of where you live. On an individual experience, but also on a collective. So the more you become aware of your own personal experience and how it works, then the more possibility you give to the person sitting next to you. And if that person is listening closely, they can actually feed off of that intelligence that you are building. So then you have a whole room of people that are feeding off of each other, growing, developing. And then it comes to the space outside of this room, and then throughout this entire city, and then this entire province, and then this entire country. And it becomes literally an inner revolution. Taking back what is rightfully yours, what is rightfully ours, which is this balance of mind, which is a mind that is for us, which is a mind that has functioning, working thought, emotion, and personality. See? Any questions? It's always the same story, but we just keep going deeper. Isn't it always the same story? No matter what you read, no matter what you listen to, it's always the exact same. Same, but different. And the difference is important. The fact that you hear it differently, the fact that you see it differently is important. Any questions? Let's sit for a few minutes, closing the eyes. As you sit, I would like you not to focus on any one thing specifically, but rather pay close attention to everything. And from this approach of seeing the totality of your experience, you will then find your single point of concentration. Increasing in your ability to understand that you are not anything which is produced inside of you. That you are truly only observing it. Keeping the eyes closed, bring some full deep breaths into the body. Just notice as you breathe the shifts that occur. And when you're ready, just very, very gently, very, very slowly, allow the eyes to open. So in regards to meditation, the only thing that is significant in meditation is space. This is our relationship. We're developing relationship to this mysterious space found inside there. Everything else that you experience, we want to simply observe from like a third-person perspective. You are observing it. It is not you. No matter how ecstatic and elated you get, you simply want to observe. It's important because in that you will not get caught up. The moment you go into any sensation, the moment you go into any thought, no matter how good it is, if it was the best business plan in the world, even then, if you go into it, you are getting caught. You will attach yourself to the idea, and you will lose sight of what you are doing during that technical time. If you had a technical time which was to write out all of your amazing ideas and contemplate and think, that's different. But meditation is not time for thought, emotion, personality to take center stage. It is time for the space inside of you, for the pristine stillness of your mind to be at center stage. Very, 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 very big difference between the two, and incredibly important to maintain as you are working with your meditation. This is exciting. If someone were to ask me why I teach yoga, it's because I have a strong belief in the individual human being's mind and body and intelligence and its ability to heal itself. Heal the body and also heal the mind. And when I say heal, I don't necessarily mean eradicate all disease. What I mean is the ability to come to terms with what is happening. That's true healing. And in creating that space, it allows energy to flow. So then usually what comes towards that individual who is accepting that there is a healing that is occurring, no matter what's happening inside of them, accepting that this is healing, in that opening, in that fluidity, what comes to that individual is all of the tools that is necessary for them to achieve balance, to heal. Does that make sense? So I believe strongly. The second reason why is because I am excited with what Western practitioners of yoga, people meaning people who are living here in the West, what they have to offer to this beautiful tapestry of yoga that's thousands of years old. So actually this is your turn to add to the story. It has never actually been on this continent in this way before. So you are actually adding a piece quite significant that maybe people won't even notice until 300, 400, 500, 600 years from now, but your time spent within your practice is incredibly worthy and important. The good thing is that you are doing it. You are in the active stage. So the Kriya Yoga is strong. It's acting inside of you. And everything that you see as being a reality, meaning the peaks of what yoga is, you are making it so. Through one simple shift, and that is taking the responsibility for your own personal time within this practice. So thank you very much, everyone. Namaste.